In an interesting twist in the testimony at the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry, sister of murder-accused Sergeant Gregory Smith, Ann Wagner, pointed a condemning finger at the Working People's Alliance WPA for the killing of Dr. Walter Rodney. Mrs. Wagner, who co-authored the book written by Gregory Smith, Assassination, Cry of a Failed Revolution, debunked the testimony given by Dr. Rodney's brother, Donald Rodney, about her brother being responsible for Dr. Rodney's June 13, 1980 death. In an emotionally driven testimony, Ann Wagner said not only did Dr. Walter Rodney die on June 13, 1980, but her brother as well, since he was wrongfully blamed for Rodney's death and forced to live an undesirable life of exile. Mrs. Wagner, who migrated to the U.S. in 1970, told the commission that her brother lived in constant fear, with many attempts on his life during his years in French Guiana after fleeing Guyana. Visibly shaken throughout the proceeding, she told the commission that her testimony is aimed at vindicating her dead brother from the ill act and correct Guyana's history as it relates to Gregory Smith's involvement in the dastardly act.
To rectify the grave and deliberate distortion of Guyana's history for 34 years, during which the media used to sanctify Walter Rodney and demonize my brother. This is great injustice to my brother, who was a friend and confidant of Dr. Walter Rodney, a political activist.
Ms. Wagner, do you believe that the contents of the book are true?
Yes, the content of the book is true.
What facts is the book based on?
The book is based on why Gregory had to join the Army, why he had resigned from the Army, how he met Dr. Walter Rodney, what was requested by Dr. Rodney, that Dr. Rodney was his friend.
Mrs. Wagner is represented by United States-based attorney Edward George, who led her evidence-in-chief. A call was made for Donald Rodney to undergo a lie detector test, noting that her brother was never given this opportunity even though he requested it.
There are many who dismiss the book as a total fabrication. Do you have a response to that?
Yes, for all those who dismiss the book as total fabrication, my request remains the same as the dying declaration of my brother, Gregory Smith. We would like Donald Rodney to take a lie detector test. And that is what we would like.
Are you aware of any other aspects?
Counsel, may I seek clarification?
Yes.
When you say we,
The family.
did your brother take one before he passed?
He wasn't given the opportunity.
Smith's sister said her account is based on conversations with her brother, who subsequently changed his name to Cyril Johnson since he was a fugitive. The commission heard that Smith did not approach the police because he feared wrongful conviction for the assassination of Rodney, who she claimed had approached her brother to make bombs since he specialized in electronics. Mrs. Wagner discredited earlier testimony by Robert Allen Gates that he grew up in Berbice with Gregory Smith, making reference to Gates as a fraudster. Attorney Keith Scotland, who represents the interests of Donald Rodney at the commission, said Mrs. Wagner in the book, Assassination, Cry of a Failed Revolution, had no basis for the statement against Donald Rodney, which reads, quote, Donald Rodney has not shown 1 ounce of character.
That Donald Rodney, brother of Walter Rodney, and the WPA, but I'm referring to Donald Rodney, have not shown 1 ounce of character. You recall stating that boldly?
Yes.
At the time of the making of that statement, did you ever meet Donald Rodney?
No.
Did you ever have, to use your word, 1 ounce of interaction with Donald Rodney?
No.
Donald Rodney, are you here? Come. Forward. Forward, Donald. This is Donald Rodney. Okay? You see him?
Yes.
You would know, madam, from your elaborate Christian background, that before you cast aspersions on someone's character, you must have at least have some personal knowledge about that person. Correct?
Correct.
Or some interaction with that person. Correct?
Correct.
And that is what you would base a conclusion that this person has not shown 1 ounce of character based on your interaction and your personal knowledge, correct?
Correct.
But you have had not 1 ounce of interaction with Donald Rodney before you made that comment. Isn't that so?
I think that is our record.
Yes.
She's answered that.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Rodney.
Yes.
Now, it would be correct to conclude that you have no personal basis for making that comment. Isn't that so? You.
When you...
Madam,
Okay.
I've asked you a simple question. Do you have any personal basis for making that comment?
Yes, I have a personal...
What is your personal basis? I'm asking it open.
Personal basis is my brother.
So it is your brother, Gregory Smith.
Gregory Smith.
So therefore, the statement should really read, from my interaction or from whatever my brother told me, Donald Rodney has no ounce of character. Isn't that so? It should be qualified, correct? That's not your statement, but that's what that would derive from what your brother told you. Isn't that so, madam?
You got a point there?
Yes. Now, you know for a fact, because you said your brother followed the Donald Rodney's trial and the events daily, that Donald Rodney remained in Guyana and faced a trial before a magistrate. You know that?
Yes.
In fact, Donald Rodney was convicted and has appealed, and his appeal has been thrown out. You know that?
Yes, I know that.
Your brother, Gregory Smith, he never faced any courts in Guyana or anywhere else in the world relative to the death of Dr. Walter Rodney. Never.
Okay. Did the Guyana government did anything to go and get him? He wasn't hiding.
Madam.
He could have been found.
An information warrant for the arrest of Gregory Smith for the murder of Dr. Walter Rodney, taken out on June 13, 1996, was presented to Mrs. Wagner, who admitted to having knowledge of it.
Did you know for today of this warrant for the arrest of your brother for the murder of Dr. Walter Rodney?
No.
Did your brother, in your daily conversation...
Not too fast, Council.
Sorry.
We heard of the warrant. We never seen it.
So, I'm glad that.
Mom, there are two different answers. You said earlier that you did not know of the warrant
I did not
before today.
see it. The first time I'm seeing this document.
Yeah, but knowing and seeing are two different things. Those seeing might be a way of knowing.
You hear in the news that there's a warrant out for his arrest.
Well, that's the know through the news.
That is all you hear, but we did not see a document, sir.
Madam, thank you. So according to you, your brother heard through the news that there was this warrant for his arrest for murder. Isn't that so?
Yes.
He, being willing now, as you have stated on several occasions, to come back and tell his side of the story. So this is not about anything seeking to extradite him. This is he, on his own volition. Did he do anything to surrender himself to this warrant?
he have done?
He could have come back to Guyana. Let me tell you what he could have done. This is the only time I would answer a question asked by you. He could have come back to Guyana and surrendered himself to the police, just as Donald Rodney surrendered to the police at the hospital. Did he do that? Did he return to Guyana?
No, he did not return to Guyana.
Right? And let me now give you your way out. That is because, of course, his life, you would say that his life was at stake from the WPA, correct?
Yes.
Don't combine commentary with your questions, man. Ask your questions before commentary. You're following some bad precedent set here.
And the witness did say that he would have been willing to come provided there was a lie detector test done. So you have to be fair to the witness.
Did he ever write the authorities and say, I am willing to come provided that there's a lie detector test?
Yes.
Where do you have a
I
copy?
have a BBC tape that you can hear his voice saying those exact words.
Okay.
Question asked by him, and he answered it.
Here my question to you, where you answered yes. Did he ever write the authorities who took out this warrant for his arrest and say, I am willing to return once a lie detector test is administered?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of this letter?
I don't have a copy
Have
of
you
it.
ever seen this letter?
No, I haven't seen it later. But I want to ask you one question,
No,
sir.
madam. May I continue?
This summons was sent to
No.
Russell and House Street.
Madam,
Said Gregory.
Madam, there's a discipline that we adopt once you enter this hall. I ask you questions and you answer.
Okay.
In 1996, your brother, Gregory Smith, was living in Cayenne,
Okay.
correct?
Yes.
He knew of this warrant for his arrest. And the short of the long is he didn't surrender.
Yeah, she never answered that.
He knew of the warrant for his
He
arrest.
heard of it through, not through this means. He didn't get a document.
Madam, I understand. I'm talking about his knowledge. He knew of it.
She already told us that
He
he
knew a
had
lot
heard
of
of it.
things.
Do you? Okay, so let us take it then that he knew of this warrant for his arrest. At any time then, either before 1996 or after 1996, did your brother give a signed witness statement, anything, as to what transpired on the night of the 13th of June 1980? Signed?
No.
So then you would want to correct the history of Guyana without any signed document from the person wanting to correct it. Madam, that's what you want to do?
It appears to be, please, I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chairman, but the witness appears to be looking into the background, and I've seen persons there prompting her on what answer to give. I think that is highly improper.
I've been observing to myself, but I thought I wasn't seeing well.
Mr. Chairman, I have noted the eye contact, but that does not affect me in any way. But I have noted it.
I thought she was looking at you, man. She said that-
No, she avoids me. Rightly so, I understand. I concede. There are others much more pleasant to look at, but
Well, those who may be misbehaving in the back, please conduct yourself.
thank you. Much obliged, Mr. Chairman. Madam, have you answered my question?
Could you repeat it, please?
You would want to correct the history of Guyana without a sworn document from the person seeking so to do?
You sure she's following you, correct the history? You sure
You would want to, yes.
That's brand in your focus.
You'd want to put right the distortion of history without a signed document, isn't that so? take my word for it. My brother tell me that. Correct? Mr. Williams.
Waiting on the answer.
Yeah, you let us fall out, huh? Hearing you.
Bob, you understand the question that's asking you?
I can't grasp that question.
I'm not hearing you.
We didn't hear what you said.
Are you asking me if I want to change history without a signature?
Without a signed document, without
Without
something
a
signed from
signed
your mother
document.
saying this is what happened.
Okay. With all the documents that I haven't produced, it is you know, I'm going to say this. You do have a point, but history is history, and there's something we can't do. We can't change history.
So you can see that I have a point. You do.
You have a point.
Thank you.
Mrs. Wagner was questioned by the Commission about the extent of the help she attained in co-authoring and editing the book.
And what about the foreword, which was shown to you earlier this morning at pages 13 to 14? I think the foreword is what was shown to you.
That forward is me.
That's you.
That's me.
And we know that the acknowledgements at the front is you.
Me.
And we know that the prelude was written by
Me.
somebody else,
Yes.
Rommel Todd.
That's right, exactly.
Thank you.
Did you get any help in writing the part you claimed to have written?
Did I get?
Did you get any help? Did you get any help in writing the part of the book you claimed to have written?
Yes, I got help because I interviewed,
Okay.
I
Got help?
taped, and I transcribed
What
what was
was the
stated.
nature of the help?
I interviewed the people, and
No, you speak into the mic. I want them to
okay,
be clear.
I interviewed the prospective persons, I recorded them and transcribed it.
Is that the full extent of the help? Is that the full extent of the help you got?
Yes.
Did anybody assist you directly in writing?
No.
What about editing?
I had somebody, I asked somebody to edit the book for me, and when I got it back, he did nothing, so I just did the edit myself.
What about publication? How did you manage to get it published?
It was, you know, I didn't even write this.
Pardon me?
I just looked at, I didn't pick any, I just looked at the publications, and I picked one and then called them up and had a conversation with them. And
Not hearing what you're saying.
Oh, you are now mumbling.
okay.
Come. Compose yourself and answer quietly.
What I did, I looked for publication, people who publish books, and I picked one of them, and I followed through with whatever was requested.
And they didn't appoint their own editor or anything like that?
Why I didn't have them use their editors because of the Guyanese language, and I didn't want to change it anything because the grammar, you know how we talk with the patois is not, and I didn't want to make any changes, so I told them I don't want them to change anything.
And why were you to publish without participating in any editing or?
No, they didn't. The publisher did not participate in editing it.
Thank you.
All right, counsel, you can go ahead now. I think you know which part she didn't write, which part she claimed to have written. Yes, go ahead.
So, madam, when I ask you about parts, it's because I understand who you said wrote which part, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, according to you, the introduction up to page 17 was written by Gregory Smith, yes?
Yes, sir.
Madam, just read page 16. Let me suggest to you, madam, that this really was written by you and not Gregory Smith. The introduction. When you tell us that, it could be a mistake. I want to be kind to you. Look at page 17, the paragraph in here. My brother's one unfulfilled wish was to clear his name. He didn't write that. You wrote that.
Chapter 1.
Page 17, chapter 1. Page 17, my brother's one unfulfilled wish. Look at the middle of that page.
He suggested to you Gregory could have written that and be speaking of himself as his brother.
Oh, my brother one fulfilled. Okay. Okay, I see that.
So Gregory didn't write that, did he?
Okay, he did not write that piece.
In her description of the book, Assassination, Cry of a Failed Revolution, Anne Wagner said it is, quote, indicative of 25 years of deception, abuse of power, and character assassination by the Working People's Alliance, WPA, unquote. Gregory Smith was never convicted and died of lung cancer on November 21, 2002. Assistant Lead Counsel to the Commission, Lachmi Rahamat, gave a synopsis of the day's proceedings.
And Ms. Wagner accepted that in the book, in the manuscript, and also in her witness statement that was tendered, she never mentioned anything about the woman, the wife, and the children. Now, this is something that has now been said, and Mrs. Scotland was exploring that in cross-examination. We also have different accounts in relation to how it is that Ms. Wagner said her brother said he left Guyana. According to her account today in the box, she indicated that Gregory Smith said he went by boat to Trinidad. He stayed a couple days there, almost a week, and then he returned to Guyana on the boat and then went to Albert Town, a building in Albert Town, where he met WPA operatives. Now, what is important is that we would have had evidence already before the commission in relation to how it is Gregory Smith would have left Kakwani. And there is another statement that was explored previously that indicated that the same GDF plane that took him into Kakwani on the 14th is the same plane that was seen coming back on the 17th and taking him away from Kakwani on that date. Ms. Anne Wagner has also brought to the commission documents which she has attached to her statement, including the original birth certificate in the name William Smith. She explained how he got known as Gregory, his baptism name, and was called Gregory for the remainder of his childhood and adult life until his name was changed to Cyril Johnson. She brought to us the birth certificate, which bears the name Cyril Johnson, and she also brought to us documents showing his death certificate and also his passport, which was issued in the name Cyril Milton Johnson, which is a Guyanese passport. And of course, these documents have not yet been addressed by any of counsel to do cross-examination, but I would expect that sometime tomorrow, when cross-examination continues, these documents would be explored in detail.